Okay guys, welcome back to the third tutorial of our HTML and CSS tutorial class, and today we are going to be talking about HTML form. But before that, let me simply introduce you to JavaScript. I'm not going to dive into it. I'm just going to use this to create the form and any other thing we are going to be doing. So the HTML JavaScript, the JavaScript, as popularly known as JLs, is a script language used to make a web page dynamic and more interactive. JS is commonly used for form validation, dynamic context effect, and image manipulation. So JS basically is to make your web page more dynamic, more user friendly. So just to add effects, maybe one image flying out like a slider, stuff like that. So that's the work of JavaScript. So we are going to be using this JavaScript just to know that our form is actually working, since we don't know backend yet. So we are going to be using JavaScript. I will teach you how to use JavaScript. So to use JavaScript, there are two ways. You either link your JavaScript file, or you use the external file like CSS also. So let's assume you want to use external file. Just type script, and this is it, script src. So inside this quote, this is where your script name will be. Let's say I save my JavaScript name as script .js. So let's assume this is my file name. So whatever code I wrote in this file will affect on this page. And the second way to write your script is to use, just say script, then close it. Then you can also use this way also. It's also, but all your JavaScript code will be inside your HTML file. That's a single file. But if you want a separate JavaScript file, so that's when you use the first method. And some people also do this thing. They will put type. This does not necessarily, or else in some cases, then you can put text / JavaScript. Although this does not actually necessary, because you using JavaScript only, it actually work. So this is not necessary. It's necessary in some cases. Maybe you are linking an external file, maybe some JavaScript you are using, maybe like API or stuff like that. So that's when that you can just use type modules. So that's when this is actually necessary, but it's not for your level now, so just skip this. So just use these normal scripts. So we are going to be doing some simple JavaScript. I'm going to teach you alert box. We call it alert box. So if I come into my script and said alert, then open my bracket, then inside here, as you can see, it says the message which I want to pop up to user. So I can just use, let me say is hi. So I am an alert box. So if I save this and go to our preview and reload, so as you can see, it automatically pop up by itself just by reloading your browser. So you can see this is just an alert box. If I reload, as you can see, this is what JavaScript do. JavaScript make your code more dynamic and user friendly. So as I hope you get that now. Just use alert, your message that you want to let it allow to alert to user, so just put it inside it. So, and that's all, you are done. So also let me teach you dynamic context example. I says JavaScript is used for form validation, dynamic context. We can just use this alert box for the form validation, although it's not being stored into a database. It's just for testing, for us to know, okay, our form is successfully submitted. So okay, we are going to be using the which one? Okay, we are talking about dynamic, right? So let me just clean this up. So let's create another element p, and we are going to give that an ID. Let me just use p and ID. We're going to just use, let's say, sample. Then we are going to close our elements. Say hello. So hello world, and we are going to come down, create the button element. I don't know if I've teach this, but if I have, so you should know. And if I have not, this is just the button element if I preview this without putting anything, you will see something like dots. Yeah. So the alert box is still working. So as you can see, this is the button. So if I put text, maybe I put let me just use one text. Probably I've cheated, I don't remember. So let me just say change content. So if I save these and preview it, so as you can see, this is the button, just normal button you see on a website. So that's that. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to give it a JavaScript effect. We have something in JavaScript that we called on click. So that means is a function in JavaScript that, okay, for we want an action, but for this action to work or this effect to work, there should be an interaction which will be the on click. So it's going to be on click. As you can see, there's so many functions, so we are using the on click. Then what we can just use any name. It's just like an attribute that we've talked about, like all these attributes that you can just like the this ID that you can use any name. This on click, you can just use any name. Is a function, so you can use any name to name your function. Just know that, okay, this is what's work for. So let me just use change content TNT. So this is, we give it an make sure you put a bracket, open bracket and close bracket. So we've given our function a name. So we assign change content to the function. So that means whenever we mention this change content, we are referring to our on click function. So now let's go to our JavaScript. I can just clean this up now. So we are going to say in JavaScript we have something we call function. So although this is not a JavaScript tutorial, so I'm going to be briefing this, so just have a basic idea of it. Maybe probably if I start my JavaScript classes, you can know more about it. So it's function, and what we are going to name the name of our the name of our function. We are going to call it, which is change content. Then what, we open the bracket, don't forget that, then open your curly braces at the front. Then we can just put, there's still another function, or I don't know how to call this. We use it in JavaScript. We called it document dot get element by ID. Just know that this must be capital letter, as you can see. Let me type it so you should see properly. So it has to be get, the E must start with E, capital letter E, element, and the B we start with capital letter B, and the by rather we start with capital letter B, by ID. Then you have to put open bracket. Then what ID do we want? As you can see, get element by ID. It says the element ID, we have to input it at the middle of this box, of this bracket, and this is the ID we want to get, right? So just copy the ID name, put your quotation marks, then put it in the middle, and we've automatically get this ID, this text ID. So just put a dot, then inner HTML equals to let me say is how are you, then put my semicolon. So this is just the basic. I know you don't understand it, and if you understand, you are very, very brilliant. So this is not a JavaScript class, so I just want you to know the basic knowledge of JavaScript. So what basically this we do is that we say document.get element by ID. That is, we are referring to this. So we've already get this ID like this. So we say dot inner HTML. Inner HTML simply refers to the text that is in this HTML, which is the hello world. So you know we get this ID, right? So we want the inner HTML of this ID. That's why we say dot inner HTML, which will be the hello world, equals to how are you. So that is, we said button on click. You know, this is our button, right? We say on click, then we give it a function name, right? So we come to our JavaScript and say function change. That is, if this button is click, function change content, which is this on click, right? If it's click, document.get element by ID. That is automatic. If they have clicked the button, right, our our JavaScript will get the element, we get the inner HTML of this element p, because we said document dot get element by id, which is sample, and this is the element. Once this will only work only when the button is click. As you can see, I want you to get this very well, that function change content. This change content is not a code, it's just a normal text. You can change it to anything you want, just make sure it match whatever it is here. So that's just it. We said, and we've already said on click, that is if the button is click, that's when the function will work. If the button is not click, the function will not work. Do you get that? So we say document dot get element by id sample. So if they have clicked the button, our code will get the element of this id, inner HTML of this id, which is hello world, and change it to how are you. So that's just simple as that. If you come to preview now, reload, and click on this change content, as you can see, it's changed the text of the element p to how are you. I hope you get that. It's very simple, you just have to understand the basic. This is not a JavaScript code, as I said earlier, so I'm just giving you the basic knowledge of it. And now let's go to our HTML form directly. So I can just clear this up for now. Okay, HTML form. Okay, let's just get started directly without wasting time. So we can just use in HTML form, the element name to use is just form, form. That's it. And okay, let me just type it using this automatic, won't let you get it properly. So open our bracket and form. Then after the form, before you close the form, you have to put an attribute which is called action. Action equals to your code, and in the middle of the code will be your backend code. Like assuming we are using PHP, you don't know PHP yet, so we are not using PHP, right? So since we are not using PHP, we don't have a backend yet, so you can just put an hash. Just put an hash like a demo. Then what? So you will just put method and get. You can just use capital letter. Get. Close your form. This is simple. You just have to form the attribute to its action, and this here inside here will be your backend code. And since we don't have a backend code, so I'm going to be using hash. Then although let's just use, okay, let me create a new file. Let's make it a little bit more dynamic. You get? Let's create let's just save it as form handler. So let's just use this as our form handler. This thing is crazy. So okay, now let's get started. So we can just start our form. This is our form, right? So now let's get started. This is suggesting sheet. So now let's get started. So first thing, in HTML we have something we called input. Input is just element also for to take an input from user, to take something from user, for people to input something into a feed. That's what the input element stands for. So we are going to be using the input. We're going to be input. Then we are going to using an attribute called type. So type, input can be in form of many things. You can collect a file from user. You can tell a user to upload a file, a photo, user to type their name, to type their message, so to type their number, to type their dates. So form input can be in many forms. So we have the first one, we can just use the text, which is the common use, which is text, which can be used for name or anything. So okay, now let's name, full name. This name is also an attribute. It's mainly used for the backend. If you are using like PHP to actually collect this after a user submit this file this form, so our backend will use this name to recognize what type of form. So it doesn't matter. It's not necessary to be there. Just know that I can just remove it. It's not necessary. But for you to be familiar with backend in case you later learn it, so you can use placeholder. And placeholder is something I will show you. Placeholder, don't worry, don't let me explain. You'll have seen it a lot on the website. So let's go like this first, and that's it. This is our inputs form, guys. Now let's preview it. If I reload now, as you can see right here, it allows me to type something. Isn't that amazing? That's how a website works exactly, to collect your full name for sign up page or any other page. Do you get that? So this is, let me explain this placeholder. This placeholder is what give you a hint on what to input. As you can see, the full name that is not editable, but is what give you a hint on what to type. I can change the full name if I just change it like something like pepepe, and save this and come to our browser. As you can see right there, it's just like a hint. That's the placeholder. So you know this is what they require me to input in this field. That's just how it works. And there are so many form field which we are going to be treating, and I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to cut it right here. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to post the videos very soon, so we continue. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.
So guys, I was sorry about the video, about the background noise. It was my siblings and my elder brother that was making that noise. I promise you, my next tutorial there won't be any noise. Sorry for the inconvenience. I just have to record that video that time. And thank you for watching. See you later.